seem a bit wearisome of the world, Rick.
Did you say I seem weary?
Wearisome of the world, yes.
I'm not even saying anything and I'm projecting that. Wow, that's terrible. It's just that I can't, I guess I need, if you said something, if you asked me something really outrageous or you did something that was the verbal equivalent of, I don't know. I need to be startled into consciousness, I think.
What techniques do you use to startle yourself, to get yourself going?
Well, usually that happens by itself when I'm working. If I have some idea and I haven't actually started yet, then I'm still in the state I'm in now. But as soon as I actually start, it's like almost like medication or some kind of drug. And then everything that was interfering with my consciousness just seems just disappears, and I'm not even aware at the time that that's what happens. Just I'm just in there, you know, whatever it is I'm working on, and it happens every time. It's one of the very few things I can depend on. So, one of the reasons I like doing this work.
Your colour palette is quite wide.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a preference in palette or choice of colour?
I haven't noticed that to be the case. I think it's directed by, you know, what the particular work is. For instance, I did one that's not here, but it's a street scene, close up, and you see some pretty destitute people with their hands out, and they look kind of, I would say, sexually ambiguous or androgynous. And the color palette is all kind of grays and grayed down greens. There's really no color in it per se, as like yellow, red. There's no brightness to it. So the feeling of the color is similar to the what I imagine the feeling of those people would be. But you know, when I'm painting something like that, I'm not thinking like what I just said. It's just that after it's done, I can look at it and then observe what I'm saying to you now.
How long? I mean, obviously everybody paints for years and years, you know. But how long would it have been since you say you've really become a painter yourself, you know, or an artist? Well, you know, how long did it take before you were happy to refer to yourself as one?
Well, I think that started happening maybe 20 years ago. Even though I've been painting for a lot longer than that, and drawing. These are just things I've done since I was a small child. I would be the kid in the second grade or whatever grade it was, with some sketch paper on the book, so the teacher couldn't see that what I was really doing was drawing something that had nothing to do with what the subject of the class was. Well, at that time, when I'm thinking in grammar school here, it was actually, to some extent, it's really what you see right here. It just maybe was a little more childlike, but faces, you know, people's faces, expressions. I guess that whole idea of it's whatever somebody is feeling, comes through in their facial expression. And I think that's just something that always fascinated me, because at the time I was talking about it, I was let's say 9 years old or 8 years old or something. So they might have looked more like cartoons at that time, I guess, in a way, a cross between cartoons and art, fine art. Well, that's funny. I used to think of the whole thing as facial expressions, anger, sadness, things like that, or joy, the very basic ones. But I found as I went along that they got more subtle. So you could bring out, say, a feeling of jealousy or contempt or suspicion or anticipation, or feelings that aren't really being verbalized yet, but they're just behind the surface. And you can't start out, at least I couldn't start out doing that, because I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking of the more basic feelings. You have the luxury of just making them up. You're not just deciding what the feeling is that you're going to express, but who's expressing it. And more often than not, it's not a real person. It's just people I've made up. So it's very self-indulgent. You can. There's the whole thing of, and I don't think I'm conscious of this when I'm doing it, but there's probably some relationship between the feeling, the expression on one hand, and the physical identity of the imagined person on the other hand.
You're building a character motivation almost as an actor would prepare for a part in a film. For instance, the small child in the middle of that picture there, that painting there, when you're starting to paint her, you're thinking, what is her life like? Am I right? Am I putting words in your mouth?
Well, in some cases, yes. That's very good. In that case, it's more like what I'm getting into her imaginary head, because she's not a real person. And where is she sitting, and as she's looking out like that, what is she seeing? What is she responding to? How is she feeling?
You say she's not a real person. Why not?
Oh boy. Well, when I say that, what I mean is that I just mean that I wasn't trying to be, deep or something. It's just I'm just saying that a lot of these people are not those people, but generally they don't actually exist. So they're not real in the sense that their faces are, and whatever, I guess whatever they're projecting, is all just my imagination in paint. Well, I think I might have been on the way to a doctor's office at the time. And, I guess you think about the physical aspect of your being a little more, I think, as you get older. So if you find yourself on your way to your doctor's office, there's more to that than meets the eye. And so maybe it was at that point, and that's not that long ago. It's something I've put off for a long time, and I think now because I'm just at a point, I'm at a point in life where if I don't get off the dime, so to speak, I'll be gone, and nobody, and it'll just be like it all never happened, you know. I want people to see the work, and I want them to have the opportunity to respond to it, whether it's positive or negative or something other than that, instead of just, you know, hiding it all in my little, you know, my little corner. So I think it's a timing thing, you know. I'm just at that age where you get thoughts like that, you know. So I think that's long answer to your question. But in a place like this, you can vary your anonymity, I guess, with your state of mind. You know, you can just hide out when you feel like it, and come out when you feel like that.
How long was your anonymous period? You know, how long did you enjoy anonymity for?
Wow. That just takes my breath away. You know, in one respect, I would say most of my life, sporadically, and in another respect, I would say, like with respect to the art specifically, I would say until now, when I decided to let go of the well, I guess you'd call it anonymity. Yeah, just stop hiding out with respect to the art, and it felt better immediately. I have to say that. Just really, it was. I just felt more comfortable, and I was surprised that in a way that I hadn't done it long before that. But I'm trying to concentrate on the present and a little bit on the future, and very little on the past.
And just finally, Rick, would you say, because not everybody can own a piece of your art, there's only one of each. So for those coming here to the Centre Place Gallery, what is it you would hope, if they can't take a piece home, not everybody can afford art, you know, what would you hope they take home from the visual experience?
I think that because of what a lot of the work I do has in common, and we talked about it earlier about expressing emotions and so on, I think that it would be gratifying to me if people came away with maybe a little bit more willingness to respond in general to what they see, and to allow it to, whether it doesn't have to be art, it could be another person, it could be a place, whatever, but that they allow it to affect them, and they allow themselves to be aware of what that effect is. And the more they do that, I think the richer their life will be. It'll have more downs as well as ups, but that's the way it works, I think. It's a seesaw. And you can only get as much positive input as you're willing to receive negative. You can only open the, you open the thing and it's either open this much or it's open that much. And if it's open, it's open, you know. So it takes more courage in a way, but I feel better off doing it that way myself.